All right, so I wanted to give a really quick overview of installation of our JL and JT fender mount for the ARB single compressors. As you can see, I've got the new brushless compressor mounted, but it does also work with the classic style single compressor. So as far as your hardware that you get, I try to put everything in separate bags. And so this is the fender mount hardware. So you'll have your washers and your screws here on the top. And then underneath, you'll put the rubber washer on the fender and then the other stainless fender washer on top of that. So you stack rubber and then stainless underneath the plate. And what that does is give you a little bit of height off of the fender, but then it also helps with any kind of vibration. On the new Gen 2 version of this bracket, it will work with either of the G-Spec 5 or non-G-Spec 5 computer brackets. So what you do, especially with 23 and ahead brackets, on those, one of these plastic plugs is going to be in the bracket in the same location that you need to run your screw through to mount this bracket. So what you want to do is pop out this plastic fitting, and then once you get it bolted through, then you can zip tie your line and stuff back onto the bracket to hold that into place. With the hardware that comes here, you'll want to do the fender washer, then the rubber washer behind the bracket, again to help with spacing, but then also to help with vibration. And then you got your locking nuts. And as you can see a little bit down in there, the bracket's set up. So this is pre G-Spec 5. So I've got a 2020. So it's the non-G-Spec 5, which is where you mount this one. The G-Spec 5 computer brackets you'll have your screw going through the other hole on the bottom of this. And then as far as the switch plate goes, you'll have, if you order the switch plate this is the only optional piece with the whole kit. So if you do order the switch plate, it comes with the extra M5 serrated nuts for the bracket. The studs for those are PIM fittings, so they are press fit into the bracket, so they're always there no matter what. And then as far as mounting the compressor to the bracket, I also send some more rubber fender washers. So you can get down in there. You want to put one of the rubber fender washers, then the stainless fender washer, stack those underneath your bracket. Also helps with vibration, but then also helps give you a little bit of height just to get past those black hard lines that are underneath there. Obviously with the new brushless compressor, it's a lot easier to get that set up just because the bracket is separate, or at least separate, easier to get on and off. With the classic style single compressor, then that way what you want to do to make it easier is to take loose at least one side of the bracket, and then that way you can pivot the compressor back out of the way and helps you get those nuts and stuff on there a little bit better. I try to label each of the packets of hardware, that way you know. So this is the fender hardware, this is the compressor to mount hardware, and then this is the side brace hardware, if you see those in the labeled onto the bags. So, and then as far as on top of that, it'll come with another washer and then the locking nut to hold your bracket on. And then the full kit, well, it comes with everything that helps you get it set up except for the switch plate. That's the optional part. But as far as when you order the fender mount, it does come with this three-way fitting, the ARB three-way fitting. It does go ahead and come with, I think it's a 90-degree that I've been putting in there. Depending on how you're setting it up, with the previous classic style compressor, I was using a 90-degree fitting over here. But on the brushless compressors, it actually comes with a straight fitting that you can use to come out of that 90-degree fitting, or this three-way fitting. But I use True Blue seal, plumber's seal for all my fittings. You can use plumber's tape. It doesn't matter either way. But with this fitting here, I just put the pressure switch going out. It makes it a little bit easier to get in there for wiring. And then I just loop the 20-inch air line around, and then there's a 90-degree fitting on the bottom here that to connect to your air coupler. And this is the JIC4 ARB air coupler, so it bolts directly to the mount using the 3/4 inch nut that's on the back of that air coupler. But otherwise, I don't typically give any kind of wiring instructions, only because, you know, depending on who's installing it, they may be putting it in different ways. You may be using your auxiliary switches on the inside of the Jeep, or like myself, I always like to keep the switch here right beside the compressor. So it just depends on how you want to get it all wired up. But obviously with mounting it here on the fender, you're pretty close to the battery, so just running the wiring harness along the back there to get over to the battery. But like I say, as far as the new Gen 2 version, this does work with either of the ARB single compressors. I do still have a few of the Gen 1 mounts in stock, which are on sale right now. But as far as getting it all set up on here, the new Gen 2 gives a little bit wider space just for the new brushless compressors. But so that's kind of just an overview of what the hardware is doing. One thing I did want to mention too is that the harness that comes on with the compressor is pretty long. Typically with my classic style compressor, I did cut out a bunch of stuff on the harness. But on this one, I didn't really want to do that. So I've just got everything kind of wrapped up and tucked underneath down here, and you really can't see anything. And that way I kept the harness intact just in case if I were to ever move it somewhere. So if you ever have any questions on this, just let me know. 813fabrication.com.